Okay, so today I am re-reviewing the East Blue. So like I mentioned in my last video where I was reacting to my first One Piece review, check it out somewhere if you want to. But like I said in that video, stepping back into this beginning of the series felt so nostalgic to me. It really is incredible to me that this story has had so much impact on me and has become so meaningful to me that going back to chapter 1, I really felt like I was sinking back into a childhood favorite, a story that I had grown up with, a story that has really become a part of me that I haven't even finished the series yet. I haven't even come close. I'm halfway through what's currently published. If you don't know, I finished the Summit War saga and then turned around and came back to the beginning. And with having read such a chunk of the story, I mean, it's nearly 600 chapters, but it's not even that far into the series considering what it's going to be in its entirety. And that I read it for the first time as an adult, as a 28-year-old. And I turn back around and get back to the beginning, and I feel like I've sunk into something that's so familiar, something that I've known and loved my whole life. I mean, that's impact. This story has had so much impact. This story really just blows me away. I do love that at the very beginning of this story, it has this lighthearted, doe-eyed, sweet, fun little adventure tone, but it doesn't lie about what it is. Oda really does kind of lull the reader into thinking that they're getting something light and fun and easy to read. And then slowly, as the arcs progress, which I guess for new time reader, for people who are week to week from the very beginning, we're talking years. It's taken years to get to the more intense scenes. No, that's not true. Chapter 1 is so intense. Chapter 1 is already breaking my heart. It doesn't matter. What a fantastic beginning. From the first chapter to the end of the first saga, what a fantastic beginning. He's honest about his tone. He keeps it lighthearted and chill and sweet, with also emotional punches and deep exploration of intense topics. He does that in his first saga. He does that through the whole series, that as far as I've gotten so far. He doesn't lie about his tone, but he does lull his readers into false security. I don't know. I love it. It has been interesting to me. I guess before I get into all this, I'll re-mention this. I said this in the last video, but I'll re-mention this review of this saga is not going to be like my arc reviews have been lately, where I'm trying to hit on all the moments and I'm trying to discuss the whole, everything that I experienced. This re-review, especially since it's a whole saga that we're going to be discussing, I'm going to be breaking it down by arc in this video, and I'm just going to give you my highs and my lows of each arc. I'm going to hit you with the moments that were the most impactful for me and that meant the most for me on this reread, but it's not going to be all-encompassing. One thing that I really enjoyed seeing on this reread, though, is how different his art style is. Not only in the character designs, he's just much more skilled now. I mean, he was great from the start, but his character drawings, his shading, it does improve over time, which one would think, because he's been writing this for quite a while. But also, it is interesting to see the more simplistic tone that Oda takes in the beginning of his stories. How an entire panel can be just two characters, not, filled with chaos around them, not showing everything that's happening around them, just focused on two characters. And I actually quite like this. I think that it's fun and simplistic, but also just that very simplistic drawing style can still have so much weight and so much impact, and I really like that. Not to say that he can't draw more busy panels, he obviously does, and he still makes his action scenes brilliant, even in the very beginning. I'll not spend too much time on chapter 1 because I really did hone in on that in my top 10 One Piece moments video, and I don't want to waste time here being repetitive. So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. At the very beginning of the video, I spend a bit of time on chapter 1, but just very briefly, seeing where Luffy, I did see Luffy's backstory at the end of the Summit War saga, so definitely revisiting chapter 1 after getting Luffy's beginning was, it added a lot to it. It added so much to it. In fact, so much was added to every moment of this reread because of what I've learned after the fact. But it was wonderful to see a lot of where Luffy gets a lot of his core values. You know, we see Shanks really instilling a lot of really valuable lessons into him in the beginning. The entire thing that I talked about in the Top One Piece Moments video, from Shanks' introduction to the things that he says to Luffy, to his rescue of him when those bandits are beating him up, and then whenever he's drowning and Shanks loses his arm for him and he happily makes that sacrifice for him, the hat pass off. Really, this entire first chapter is absolutely brilliant. But also seeing it with the context of who Luffy will become, and seeing that Luffy wants to, you know, he makes this statement at one point in the story, that in the one point in this chapter, that he sets himself out to be a man like Shanks. And what a man to model yourself after. I don't know, man. It's lovely. It's lovely to see the beginning again. The reintroduction of each of our main characters so far in this first saga has been brilliant for me, to really see where they start and how Luffy wins them over. Generally, he wins them over with his goodness and them seeing how pure of heart he is. That's typically what's doing it for them, and I love that. But then also seeing the kind of predicaments that they're in when he finds them, and seeing a little bit of their backstory is just lovely. I loved Zoro's introduction, from seeing him tied up and he's about to be executed, but he doesn't realize it. The fact that he got this sentence because he saved a little girl from being attacked by dogs, and now this little girl is coming to feed him, and he doesn't want her to because he doesn't want her to get caught. Then he eats all of the disgusting food that she made. He eats it all up, every bite, so that she'll feel good about herself. Seeing his backstory actually hit me way harder this time around. His childhood friend was such a powerful little girl and such an icon. Like, I loved her this time around. And I really wish that we could see more from her, but I also am really excited about the parallels between her and that girl at the very end of this saga, whose name I've forgotten, but we'll talk about her in a little while. Seeing Luffy win him over, and then his whole little speech about, if you stand in the way of my dream, I'll blah, blah, blah. But in reality, we know what he sacrifices for Luffy, how he puts his dream aside for Luffy's dream, and each team member does this at one point or another in the series, and Zoro's beginning hit me hard. I adored that whole section of this first saga. Again, I mentioned this in my top moments video, so for the sake of not being repetitive, I won't spend a ton of time on it, but seeing him square up against the bratty kid, the one that ends up, you know, being alongside Coby, training under Garp, you know who I'm talking about. Seeing him square up against him is such a powerful moment because, like I said in the other video, it's such a parallel to when Luffy stands up to the Celestial Dragons. I love that this is the first moment that we see a very crucial part of Luffy's character, and that is the fact that when he sees someone doing wrong, when he sees someone using their power, their leverage to harm people, to steal freedoms, his reaction is the core reaction that you and I want. When we see someone doing what this bratty kid was doing, we just want to punch them. We just know that what they need is to be knocked down a peg. And Luffy he fulfills that core desire in us. He sees someone mistreating people, stealing freedoms, using their power in terrible ways, and his reaction is simply to punch them. Regardless, and the thing is, he's aware. He's not a dum-dum. He doesn't then turn to his friends and say, "You want to leave?" No, he knows what he's done. He knows that in this scene, he's sent the Navy after himself. He knows in another scene, he started a war. He knows these things. He weighs the cost and he says, it doesn't matter. This is what needs to happen right now. And I love that base reaction that Luffy has. I said I wasn't going to be repetitive. I was just a little bit repetitive, sorry. I loved another moment that really stood out to me was Luffy, the first time that Luffy and Zoro worked together as a team. after he frees Zoro, and Zoro's taking on an entire fleet of naval officers. And then Luffy says, "Zoro, duck." And already at this point, Zoro and Luffy have created enough of a trust for each other and enough of a bond that Luffy is fine with turning his back on this swordsman that he just met and leaving himself vulnerable to him. And Zoro is cool with taking an order immediately from a pirate when he was a pirate hunter. And it's wonderful. Not only that, but this line here, "No sweat, Captain," it gives me chills. It gives me chills. This level of bond and trust that comes as soon as Zoro says, "All right, I'll join your crew." Instantly, he trusts him and he's loyal to him. And that's shown throughout this entire saga. There's so many times where Zoro puts himself in danger and does things that he wouldn't do otherwise, like when Luffy gets captured by a bird and deposited elsewhere, and Zoro he's free now. He's cool. He's done. He could be done, and he could go off on his own merry little way and continue being a pirate hunter, bounty hunter. But instead, he goes after Luffy. All throughout this saga, Zoro is doing things like when he's chasing after Nami and when he goes back to protect Usopp all throughout Arlong Park. He's showing that he's doing this all for Luffy because this is what Luffy wants. Not because of what he wants, but because of what Luffy wants. He's instantly so dedicated to his captain. And we really see this from all the crew members, but Zoro's the first one. And it's brilliant. It is crazy to see Coby and Snobby Rich Kid in their beginnings, knowing what they turn into, well, I still don't know what they turn into, but I saw them in Marineford, so knowing that they shape up. But one thing that really hit me hard was Coby's beginning. Coby, when Luffy has gone off to check out the statue and check out the ruckus and try to get Zoro's swords, Coby's there with Zoro and he tries to untie him. He tries to save him. He gets shot, but he doesn't back down. And then he tells Luffy to not give in for him, accepting that he will die in this moment, but he's going to stand up to these people that he believes are wrong, regardless, knowing that it could very well and would likely lead to his death. And I really like this beginning for him because I think it really reflects who he is in Marineford so well. We see the core of what he displays in Marineford. We see the core of that right here. We see that bravery despite being filled with fear and making hard choices to stand up to people who will kill you because he knows what's right. We see that from the very beginning, and I really like those parallels. And then we also see, once again, Luffy's emotional intelligence and his ability to really suss out a situation despite being naive, despite being doe-eyed, despite being childlike. He so easily can see the reality of the situations around him. We see that throughout this entire saga, but we really see it here as well, where Coby is in a situation where he's teamed up with pirates and he's gone against the Navy, but he has a dream, and Luffy respects dreams. So he actively provokes Coby, trying to get Coby to hit him and to defy them and to go against them so that they can walk away and leave Coby to be able to fulfill his dreams. I love that moment for Luffy, but I also love that moment for the Navy because they're aware of what's happening here. And they accept this ruse, but then they salute Luffy anyway. And clearly they know that they're actually friends. I love this moment because we do see the military in a very negative light throughout this entire series, but I do like these little moments where we see it's not all bad. And also just, seeing Luffy shine is always my favorite thing. Y'all have been starting to compare me to Boa. I see it. I see that you see that I'm simping for Luffy, and I won't deny it. I do love Luffy so very much. Though maybe on a different level. I just admire him. I don't want to date him. I love Nami's introduction. I'm going to talk about Nami a lot more later, so I'll just kind of leave it here. I just really love her introduction. We see her swindling and thieving and being a true pirate, though only towards pirates. We see her lying. We see her happily leaving people lost at sea, or in her introduction with Luffy, where she just says, "Hi, boss," and then leaves him to have to deal with the consequences of everything that she's done. We see her being a cutthroat, a manipulator, a liar, a thief. She's a pirate, but only towards pirates. But I do love her introduction because it's so strong. While the first time I read this first fight with Buggy, while it didn't quite land with me because we're literally fighting a circus, as I mentioned in the last video, the last One Piece video, and it was just a little bit absurd. While all that's true, I did still, I did really enjoy it the second time around. You know, we see a lot of the core of who these people are. We see the goodness of Nami, that she can't shoot Luffy despite not wanting to be a part of his crew, despite the mission that she has and the purpose that she has for her life at this moment to save her village. She can't shoot him. She can't become a true pirate at this point. And then, you know, seeing Luffy the leader and Luffy the strategist and making up plans, Zoro just getting him again and them working together. And then that move where Zoro just picks up the whole cage despite being super injured and walks out with Luffy. I mean, it was a good fight. The whole sequence with Doggo is so brutal. It's so this is really, I think, probably the first moment where Oda goes real deep sad, real deep intense, really wants to hurt his readers. And it's kind of awesome that he does it with not even a crew member. He does it with some one-off character. I believe that the dog can come back around because everything comes back around. But this one-off character that's not even human, and he hurts us so bad. And it was so well done. It hurt me so much both times. But we see Luffy, again, a core of who Luffy is, and that's defending people's dreams and defending what's truly valuable to people or to animals. And really giving his all, putting his own stuff on hold, putting his own health on hold, putting himself in the face of danger for the sake of defending someone who's being hurt by a power that is abusing that power and that is harming people's freedoms and their dreams. That whole sequence was brilliant, but then also Luffy sitting down next to the dog and giving him the last bit of dog food that he was trying to defend. Like, what an incredible character moment for Luffy. There are so many incredible character moments for him in this series, and seeing those moments repeatedly winning the crew's trust and respect and being the moment that makes them realize, oh, he's someone I can follow. Oh man, what a brilliant way to bring the crew together. Not with some common goal. In fact, they have different goals. They want to do different things. It shouldn't work. It shouldn't work. These people that are generally going in the same direction, but that have different ideals of what they want for their lives. But it's because of Luffy's core goodness that they say, that's someone I can follow. Oh, that's so good. But then we also get amazing character moments for Luffy where he says, don't worry, I'm gonna defend the mayor. I'm gonna make sure he doesn't die here because I like him. But then also, as the mayor is telling the kids, stand down, this is my fight, Luffy just knocks the guy down and out and says, he was in my way. I just, like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I love Luffy. I'm just gonna real quick mention Zoro's first fight with the unicycle swordsman circus act because the fact that he cuts himself to give himself a handicap so that when he defeats swordsman, he's really properly proven. I don't know. It's like a brag. It's amazing. It's brilliant. I'm just gonna briefly mention it because we're gonna reference it again later. I love the flashback between Buggy and Shanks. It holds so much more meaning now with all the context that we have. And of course, the final scene of this arc where Luffy leaves the treasure behind for the town because really they need it more than the crew does. And Nami being upset about it, but ultimately accepting it and not having them turn back for it, despite what we know about her and what her goals are. It's a good ending to the arc. I'm doing a bad job of keeping this condensed. I'm gonna real try. I will only hit on my best moments for the arcs to come, I hope. Let's go. I'll just really quickly mention the island with the box guy. that doesn't fit with the series and doesn't make sense, and why is it here. When I was discussing all this stuff with my patrons over on my Discord over there, which you should totally check out. It's a ton of fun. We have great discussions. They mentioned to me that it's kind of a fun fan theory that the One Piece is here on this island, and that's why this random out of place thing is present. And I kind of love that. I mean, there's definitely more great character moments that happen in this little bitty filler section, namely when Luffy refuses to drop down the treasure chest because they're empty and he doesn't want to disappoint the guy. Oh, love it. But I actually really love this theory. I really love this theory because, I mean, he's been protecting this island and scaring people off this entire time. And then when he finds out that the treasure isn't there, at least the one that he was thinking about wasn't there, then he says, I'm gonna keep defending the island. And then we actually see him continue to defend the island when my boy Buggy shows up and back on the island in the cover stories. And I don't know, I really love that idea. I love the idea that there's more treasure that he hasn't been able to get to because he's boxy. And there's more things that he's protecting that he doesn't even know about. And the One Piece is there. And in the end of the series, we're coming back here. I love that. That's a great theory. I want it. It's mine now. Anyway, I said that all that was the first arc, but I just jammed 2 arcs together. I'm just now realizing because that was Romance Dawn and Orangetown. So apologies for saying that all that was one arc. That was dumb. Moving on. We're in Syrup Village now. And Syrup Village, it's quite long, isn't it? It's a bit long for what it is. Syrup Village, I think the reason I liked it on my first go around was just because I really like Kaya. Oh, I don't know how to say her name. Kaya? Kaya? She's Kaya in my head. I'm so sorry. Someday I'll watch the anime and actually know how to pronounce things. But as of right now, Kaya is what I'm saying. Correct me in the comments. It's fine. Kaya would make more sense for how it's spelled. Anyway, I really liked her character. I really attached myself to her. And while at its core, at its base, Syrup Village looks like The Boy Who Cried Wolf, it is much deeper than that, and I'll go into that in a little while. I'll hit my key favorite moments of this arc first, and then I'll come back around and we'll kind of talk about it as a whole and why it's okay, but not great for me. One moment that stood out is the fact that Usopp is in Shanks's crew. That was obviously, it mattered the first time around because, you know, we already love Shanks at this point, but after seeing Shanks stop a freaking war, it holds a lot more impact that Usopp's dad is their sharpshooter. That's pretty cool. He may not be a good dad or a good husband, but it does hold significance as far as how powerful of a pirate I view him to be. One really great sequence that I really enjoyed was when after they found out about Cat Claw's guy's poop emojis, plan, that they went to the wrong port and they did the oil slick, and then when they're all chaos running to try to meet up with the crew, to meet up with the pirates before they kill people, Luffy runs in the wrong direction, Nami gets stuck in the oil slick and uses Zoro to get out, but then also ends up putting him in the trap, and then she just runs off and she's like, sorry about that, I gotta go protect the treasure. And obviously Zoro is the better person to be free at this point. We really need him, but she's selfish and she's just thinking about what her values are and what she wants out of the situation. And anyway, he finally gets free, the team finally meets up, and when Nami and Usopp are overpowered, the fact that when Zoro comes in to save them and to step in and handle the situation, Nami's response is, it's about time. I love that Nami and Zoro just really don't get off on the right foot. I mean, they really don't mesh well here at the beginning. But also, there's still that level of trust between them to where as soon as he arrives, Nami just steps back and she's like, finally. And they know they're in good hands. But it doesn't end there. Usopp tries to give Zoro cover, and Zoro steps in front of that so that he takes all the damage so that these foes won't go after Usopp and Nami. And man, Zoro's a good guy. I know that already, but man, from the start. But then also Nami risking herself to get to Zoro's swords for him so that he can fight with 3 swords, and then taking damage and getting really injured, but then still risking herself again to kick his swords to him, his insult that she would kick his swords, and then her comment of, what, no thank you? And he's like, no, thank you. I love this entire sequence, this whole thing that I just summarized, because I love how Nami and Zoro don't fit and don't work and should hate each other for all intents and purposes, and probably kind of do. But still, both of them will risk themselves to protect each other, to help each other, and they trust each other when it comes down to it. And I love the dynamics of this crew, even here at the very beginning. Also, another really great moment. I know I'm not hitting everything, but like I said at the beginning, I'm just trying to hit like the moments that hit me the hardest. Another really great moment was after this fight, after they fought off against these cat people, after they take down the big bad, and after the kids take down the hypnotist, and after everything's done and Luffy passes out and Nami's just there to catch him. Whew, that moment hit me too. But really, I think the thing, even though there were good moments throughout this arc, there were things that stood out to me well, I think the thing that really hit me the hardest on this reread was Usopp. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't like Usopp's introduction. I didn't like Usopp's character design. I didn't like his personality. I didn't like this arc. Well, I did like this arc, but I don't know. I didn't like Usopp from the start. But there were some pretty big things that stood out to me in this arc for Usopp. And that's Usopp's bravery, really. We get to see a lot of Usopp's bravery in this arc. When it's just Usopp and Nami facing off against the cats, when Luffy's lost and Zoro's stuck in the oil slick, and they're both weak and they're both scared. But Nami, is pulling her tricks and she's like, look, I'm crying, I'm a girl, I can't do this. And so Usopp steps up. And even though he's just as scared as Nami and just as incompetent, actually more probably incompetent than Nami is, he still steps up and he is going to fight these guys because at the end of the day, he wants to protect his friend and his village. Then when Zoro comes in to really take care of the bad guys, Usopp tries to provide cover for him. He takes a terrible beating to near death, and yet despite the fact that he's near dead and he's been beaten bloody, terribly so, this coward still tells the kids to take Kaya and run. He gives them an order. He gives them an honorable reason to get out of the fight and to protect themselves. He does this for the woman who, not that long ago, he had tried to warn about this entire situation, and she turned on him. She didn't believe him, she insulted him, and she told him to leave her alone forever. I'm pretty sure. And his response is to put himself in certain danger, to get beaten to near death, and then to still be looking out for her and the kids' safety, knowing the kind of situation that he's in and that he may not make it out. And this is important. This is really important. One thing that really stood out to me in this arc for Usopp is that he got his own nothing happened moment. The village liar, who everyone seems to hate, at least I'm sure from his perception, had the chance. He took part in protecting this village, and he had the chance to make the village view him differently. But instead, he was adamant nothing happened. He didn't want the credit or the glory. He just wanted to know that the people he loved were safe and that the village felt safe. And that's a really big moment for his character. And then, of course, the moment when they invite him to join the crew was beautiful. I really hope we get to see more of Kaya in the future. I really, really, really love her character in this arc. This arc was not perfect. It was long. It was really long for what it is. We had a lot more chapters than I think we really needed to accomplish what we did here. And like I said, I don't love Usopp's beginning. While he was brave and he was strong and he really did impress me the second time around, he's still kind of hard to digest in his beginning. Not only that, but the main antagonist of this arc just didn't do it for me. I do think that his reveal of like the whole glasses and why he was doing this was good. It was good. But I can't stand convoluted villainous plots. And oh my goodness, is this that thing. This major pirate decides to fake his own death and then become a butler for 3 years, serving someone, doing this thing that he absolutely despises for 3 years so that he can win over her trust and win over the trust of the village. Then his plan is to have the other pirates come in and create an accident. And quite frankly, they're dum-dums. So why would he even put his trust in them to create this accident? Why doesn't he do it himself? Oh, because he's a dum-dum too. I mean, the plan hasn't even started yet, and he turns and he kills one of the other guys. He wants it to seem like an accident, but he blatantly says his plan and murders someone in cold blood and then leaves the blood slick and the body and everything there for anyone to stumble on. Why? To have a really villainous moment. From there, then, when the plan starts to go sideways a little bit, what does he decide? Let's just kill everybody. We'll kill these kids that definitely have families in the town who will certainly miss them. We'll kill Kaya, and maybe it won't even really seem that much like an accident. Like, he's leaving fingerprints everywhere throughout this arc, and he's doing it without ever really reflecting on the fact that someone might find this body before what I'm trying to do is accomplished. This entire crime scene will make things look a little bit suspicious and make her accident look less like an accident. He doesn't ever say he's framing someone else. He says, I'm trying to stage an accident. So why are you just randomly killing a guy just to have a dramatic moment? Why are you thinking you want to kill these children? I mean, I do understand that they probably won't keep quiet about what they've seen, but also you are leaving fingerprints, and he's never actually saying, I'm leaving fingerprints, I'm leaving a trail to myself, this'll make me look bad. No, at the end of it all, after he's decided he wants to kill the children, after he's tried to kill this other guy, at the end of it all, he's still thinking, I'm gonna inherit her money, and I'm gonna live happily in this village still, and they're all gonna accept me. Despite the fact that at this point, he's destroyed this plan with how many people how many bodies he's leaving behind him. There's no way no one is going to suspect him at this point. But he still thinks that he can have his plan. He still thinks it's gonna work out. No, you dummy. No, you can't. I don't know. Like I said, I hate convoluted villainous plots. There are a million ways he could have done this more effectively. A million ways he could have done this more effectively. And when everything starts to go sideways, he doesn't ever acknowledge, things are going sideways. My plan's not gonna work anymore. No, he still thinks his plan is gonna work. And I don't know, it's just ridiculous. And I don't like it. But, bring it all back in, this arc, while it does seem like a base level Boy Who Cried Wolf thing, it definitely is deeper than that, between getting Usopp's backstory of why he started crying wolf, why he started calling out that pirates were coming, that it was a hurting child trying to be there for his mom and just desperately hoping that his dad will come home and that his family will be whole again. And then it turned into sort of like a grieving and a pain thing. At first it looks like this kid is seeking a cheap thrill and potentially harming people in the process, or at the very least causing an irritant in the process. But in reality, it's a hurting kid. And getting to see that level of depth from Usopp, as well as that level of depth on a pretty base level idea, definitely adds to the story. Syrup Village, I don't hate it. I don't like it that much. It's fine. It's okay. Holy cow. Good thing I split this up into 2 videos, am I right? There's too many scenes that actually kind of hit me a little bit hard. Actually, I'm tired of talking after doing the reaction video last and now this, so I'm just gonna stop here. I'll come back later to finish this video, so I'm gonna look different for the rest of this video. Bye. Okay. Oh, it's 2 days later. I ran out of time filming when I was doing the re-review before, and now here I am. Let's talk Sanji's arc. Baratie arc is what it's called. So I'm gonna try to speed this up because this video is getting too long for a re-review where I'm supposed to only be talking about major moments. So I'm gonna try to be a little bit more condensed. Sanji's arc, I really enjoyed. Despite the little ranty rant that I had in the other video about food and consistency and I can't handle absurdism, I really enjoyed this arc. I think it makes sense that Sanji's arc would be focused on food. It makes perfect sense, and just because I can't handle this level of absurdism does not mean that it detracts from the story. I love this arc, especially one particular moment, and it truly is unfortunate that this entire arc is kind of overshadowed by a moment that isn't Sanji's moment. I love Sanji's introduction. We meet him holding plates, but really his introduction is him destroying a man for disliking his food and then feeding a man because he will always feed people. And while this moral standard of it doesn't matter if these people are going to slaughter me, I will feed them if they're hungry, it doesn't exactly help him or his fellow chefs or anyone in this scenario. And so it's an interesting moral standard, but at its core, at its heart of I'll feed people when they're hungry, it's sweet. And I don't always have to agree with people's moral standards. I like to see where they come from. And it is interesting to see where his comes from. Seeing Luffy as he's collecting his people, we've seen him be quite persistent with, I'm going to have you as a part of my crew before, but this is really the beginning of Luffy bullying someone. Not really, but I'm being lighthearted about that, but really just not taking no for an answer. And then all throughout this arc saying that Sanji is a part of the crew and Sanji repeatedly saying, no, I'm not. As well as the crew's response when Luffy cannonballs himself into the restaurant and now is forced to work there for free in order to pay off his debts, and the crew is just like, well, I guess we're stuck here now, and then they just go into the restaurant to tease him and pick on him. That's brilliant. I love this crew. I know I say it all the time. I love this crew. I really like getting that depth into Sanji that the first time I read this, I saw, but I didn't appreciate because I didn't care about Sanji yet. And now that I care about him, I really like going back and reestablishing really what makes him who he is. A big part of it is the crap geezer. Seeing that he always fought with his feet to protect his hands, and that's how Sanji fights. Seeing that his influence of why he wants to feed people and why he's so passionate about that comes from when he was a kid and he turned his nose up at people eating scraps and he just happily threw food away, and then he starved for an extended period of time, and Crap Geezer starved for even longer. The sacrifice that Crap Geezer made for him, why he's so protective over this restaurant, and then at the end seeing that it was really Crap Geezer who saw the potential in Luffy and who influenced Sanji into making the choice to go with him. I love that. But really the big moment of this arc, the big moment of this arc was Zoro and Hawkeye. I mean, this should have made my top 10 moments video. This fight was so good. Zoro has to take this fight in order to fulfill his promise and in order to honor his childhood best friend, and then Hawkeye pulls out his tiny little toothpick sword as a handicap because he knows that, what does he say? You don't use, what does he say? I'm not the kind of fool who hunts rabbits with a cannon. Oh my goodness, that flex. And I love that it's so similar to the flex that Zoro did not that long ago where he cut himself to have a bigger handicap so that he could fight Unicycle Guy. I love those parallels. Oda does this constantly. This is what I'm seeing in my reread. Constantly, he has big significant moments that he parallels with something else, and we remember nothing happens with Zoro because that moment was incredible. But then Usopp had his own nothing happens moments, and we remember I want to live from Robin, which was an incredible moment. But then there's also, I'm so glad I lived from Brooke. And what was the live line that I just read in Arlong Park? I don't remember the context of that one. But like there's multiple people that are having similar lines of wanting to live or being proud that they lived or etc. And I love that constantly happens in this series where you have this big powerful moment, but there's parallels all over the series where that same theme, that same thing is showing up again. And a lot of times showing up before the big moment. Ah! Oh my goodness, so many good things with this fight. He won't back down, even in death. He earns Hawkeye's respect to the point of Hawkeye asking his name and committing it to memory. Zoro he refuses to have his back cut because that's a swordsman's shame. So he's repeated, like, even though he knows that he's lost this fight, he'll turn and take all the cuts to the chest, because even in death, he has this code that he must live by. Then when Hawkeye decides to spare Zoro's life, and he tells him to keep training, because what is it? He tells him to strive that he could best him someday. That's an awesome freaking moment between these two, between Zoro, and it adds so much impact to the scene where Zoro got on his knees and asked Hawkeye to train him right before the time skip. And then at the end, when Zoro declares, "I will never lose again," and he says, "Got that, King of the Pirates." Oh, chills. That entire fight was so good. It should have made my top 10 moments list. Oh my goodness. Okay, back to Sanji's arc. I already talked about their backstory and, you know, where Sanji gets a lot of what he focuses on and what he believes in. But I also really love that the crap geezer made the sacrifice for him and, you know, chose to go without food and chose to try to preserve Sanji's life first, specifically because he saw the same dream in Sanji that he himself has for himself. And again, themes throughout this entire series, honoring people's dreams, respecting people's dreams is such a big deal, you know, respecting their treasure, what they treasure most in the world. And him seeing that in Sanji and then wanting to protect it and wanting this man to be able to fulfill what he wasn't able to fulfill himself, like, man, that's good stuff. I already mentioned that Crab Geezer has a big influence on Sanji finally, you know, trusting and respecting Luffy and deciding to join the crew. But I would also like to mention a couple of little moments that I really loved, and that's Sanji diving in the water to save Luffy. I love that. I love that so much. But then also this panel here where Sanji is explaining his dream to Luffy and how animated it is. Oh my goodness. You don't need words to really hit your reader. And this panel, I love it so much. Anyway, they force Sanji out. He's aware of what they're doing, but they do everything to get Sanji out because they want him to follow his dream. And I think that's beautiful. And frankly, this arc was lovely. Those are my high moments of it. Again, just a reminder, this isn't supposed to be an exhaustive review. This is like, I'm hitting the moments that really spoke to me the most. Arlong Park was so good. Nami is a character that I loved when I first met her, and then she kind of faded into the background for me. She still has really great moments throughout the series, and I love when she goes into navigator mode. She can feel the weather, she can read the weather, she can read maps. She's clearly very intelligent and extremely useful for the crew. But she easily fades into the background, sometimes because she can't fight, but with Usopp, he still has really incredible moments despite being a weaker member of the crew. And Nami gets a lot less of those really incredible moments despite being a weaker member of the crew, and sometimes she's relegated to just being the girl who gets assaulted throughout the entire arc. I'm looking at you, Thriller Bark. I still love you, Thriller Bark, but man, Nami's role was disappointing in that. But anyway, Nami, I think, has such a strong, incredible, beautiful beginning. Arlong Park was such an incredible arc, and she and so many people in this arc get so much depth to them, and I'm genuinely, at rereading this, I'm so sad that level of depth and intentionality doesn't carry over on her. Now, every single character can't be a main character, and every single character can't shine in every single panel. But I do think that Nami is one of the characters that shines the least, and after this beginning, it shows how much she can shine, and it makes me sad that she kind of slips into the background for a lot of the series. So I love the amount of depth that we get out of Nami in this. Before this moment, she is a pirate through and through, despite not wanting to be a pirate. She backstabs, she lies, she swindles, she steals, she leaves people for dead, she even sets people up for death if it means that she can have her excuse. She's terrible, but After she abandons her crew and steals their ship and steals all their treasure, we finally see why. And I get why people say read the first 12 volumes before you commit, or, well, not commit, but before you decide to drop One Piece if you're not sure about it. Because Arlong Park, while there are really incredible standard One Piece moments before this, like the doggo and his burning building, I think that this arc is the arc that really shows off for the first time what One Piece truly can be. You know, giving you a character, and then after you've spent some time with that character, taking you a whole lot deeper and making you shift the way you see them, making them feel wholly human, and making you so attached to people that you didn't think that you would ever attach to. And I think almost all the strengths that One Piece holds really happen here. So favorite moments, let's go. Nami has abandoned them and they've gone after her, and Zoro, who I don't think actually cares that much about Nami, they haven't had the best run-ins up to this point. He's just like, well, my captain wants her back, so I'll go rescue her, right? And when he does, he gets captured because he's injured, and Usopp and his brothers do abandon him. And Nami plays the part of cold, callous killer. And she's like, I'm not part of your crew. I was using you guys. You should die, right? So what does Zoro do? He throws himself into the water while being bound and injured, knowing that he probably can't make it out. I mean, it's Zoro. Maybe he could make it out, but I don't think so. And he has so much faith in who Nami is, and I assume in Luffy's judgment for her, that he's willing to put himself in an impossible situation, knowing that she will rescue him. And he was right. And it's a good moment. It's such a good moment. Similarly, the scene where Usopp is confronting everything and it looks like he's gonna die and she's told to kill him. What does she do? She pretends to kill him, but really, she stabs her hand. And then she wears a glove the rest of the arc so that people don't catch on to her hand wound. Man, that was a really good scene. Between her saving Zoro and then stabbing through her own hand so that she could make it look like Usopp died, but really she saved him, before we even get that much insight into her, we get a very clear picture of the kind of person she is. Not that we haven't had that picture throughout, like when she refused to kill Luffy when he was in the cage, but this moment, for me, is one of my top Nami moments. Arlong Park is also riddled full of the beginning of Zoro and Sanji as we know them. They bicker throughout the entire arc over stupid stuff, and it's charming and lovely. And I love that it began so soon, that Sanji literally just joined them, and already Zoro is tired of Sanji's nonsense, and Sanji could not be bothered with Zoro. Her backstory, in typical Oda fashion, is devastating. Finally getting insight into what happened to this town and why they're in the state that they're in, why Nami is in the position that she's in, why she joined these pirates, the fact that she believes that this entire town hates her for joining up with them, but in reality, she's doing everything that she's been doing up to this point that we've seen her to protect them. She's doing it to buy back their freedom. And it's such a selfless act. And then we go back to see her as a child. And oh my goodness, I have so many thoughts and opinions about this whole relationship with her sister and her mom. And I can't go into it all because I'm trying not to talk for an hour on one topic, and I could talk for an hour on this one subject. As you guys know, I've brought it up before, I just really struggle with an adult beating or hitting a child, and her mom does the thing. Foster mom, but she's her mom. And it's hard for me. It's difficult for me. But again, Oda's great at making flawed characters that are so much deeper than that. They are nuanced, they are layered, and it's one of those things where it's like, I don't like this flaw in you. I don't like this quality. It's tough for me to stomach. But there's so much more to you than just that one thing. And I do love you as a character. From her backstory of being, you know, left dying on a battlefield, and she's one of the only female naval officers we see in the series. And I mean, I don't know what position she holds, but anyway, one of the only Marine people we see in the series, and she's left dying on the battlefield, but it's these kids that she sees that makes her get up and keep living. And then she devotes her life to raising them and taking care of them the best way she knows how. The fact that she's so intense about those girls, never claiming not to be sisters, never spitting on their relationship, or, you know, that no, you are family. Family is more than just blood. And I am your mother, and I love you just as any mother loves her children. And man, once again, as an adoptive mom, you hit me so hard, Oda. This series really does feel like it's just about written for me, just me. He seems to know all of my favorite things and all of the things that will soften my heart. And he hits me with all of them a lot. Both Nami's mom and sister are such powerful characters. That scene when her mom has Arlong on the ground with the shotgun in his mouth. Whew. But also Nami's sister, who stands by her side throughout all of this and who advocates for her, who told the town what she was really doing and doesn't tell Nami that the town knows. She gets tattoos for her sister. Honestly, the family vibes, the devotion, the loyalty, the love, the family is more than just blood message. Like, oh my goodness, this arc. Okay, back to my favorite moments and not dissecting one specific moment, which I could dissect it a lot more. But another moment that I really, really love is after Arlong betrays her and she loses all her money, and then she just comes running back to the village, and she says to them, "Wait just a little longer. I'm going to try again. Just give me one more chance. It'll be easy this time." Oh my goodness. After she spent 8 years doing all this to try to get this money to buy their freedom, and it's all taken from her, and her first priority is to run back to these people and tell them, "Just give me another chance. I can do it again." And their response is, "You've done enough." The fact that they didn't want her to know that they knew, because they didn't want her to know that they knew what she was doing for them, because she was their only hope. And if they knew that she was doing this, and if she changed her mind and decided to abandon them and just go live her life and not live this life that, like, this life of slavery and this life of serving pirates that she hates, people that killed her mother and enslaved her friends and family, if she decides to abandon it all and just go live, they don't want her to feel bad. They don't want her to feel like she doesn't have a choice, like she has to do everything in her power to free them. Her devotion to her people and everything she's sacrificed over these 8 years to free them, and their devotion to her and them wanting her to have the choice to leave. I mean, I don't know how you could read this arc and not get hooked on the series. This arc encompasses so much of what One Piece is, the level of depth that One Piece provides. I don't know, I remembered loving this arc, but on reread, I'm like, this is one of my top arcs. I mean, it's pretty incredible. It's really incredible. Naturally, one of my favorite scenes in this arc, which I'll keep brief because it was in my top One Piece moments, is when Nami felt so helpless and so powerless that she just took it out on herself and tried to peel that tattoo off of her, tried to dig it out of her skin. And Luffy stops her, just with a straight face, just with that standard Luffy, someone I love is hurting face. And when she turns to him and says, "Help me," and we get the hat pass off, followed by Luffy's line, "You made my navigator cry." And then the entire team ready to go fight this fight. Whew, whew, whew. It's such a powerful moment. It's such a powerful moment. We're not even that deep into the series. I mean, I realize that I'm binging it and some of you read it chapter by chapter for years, but 12 volumes is not that deep into the series. And we got this. I don't know. And then the fights of this arc too. I typically don't do that much focus on fighting in my videos, which I don't watch other One Piece videos because I'm trying to not have the algorithm recommend me One Piece videos because I don't want to get spoiled for stuff. But I have been informed that apparently, typically with One Piece videos, the fights are a really big focus, and now I feel, should I talk about them more? But I mean, I'm gonna talk about the series the way I want to talk about the series, but the fights in this arc are so amazing. Between Zoro fighting injured, Nami's sister and Pinwheel guy, getting Luffy when he's drowning, and they get him and they stretch him and they're doing the mouth to mouth, not mouth to mouth, the they're trying to save Luffy. They're doing everything they can in the middle of this fight, putting themselves in the middle of this fight, but focusing wholly on keeping him alive. Usopp showing bravery by not backing down from a fight when he totally could and even considers it, and he's terrified and afraid, but he chooses to stand up, and for the first time, he gets to live out his dream of being a pirate. For the first time, he truly gets to be a pirate. Sanji stopping Zoro from pushing himself too far and jumping into the water for Luffy, then having an underwater fight against someone that he's totally outmatched by underwater, and that whole thing was amazing. Nami standing up and entering the fray and saying, "I've come to kill you," wearing Luffy's hat, and then Luffy's, I mean, he fought the whole time too and it's great, but his big moment when Arlong shows him the room and he realizes, it's kind of like the moment with Robin where he says, "I see. I realize who your enemy is now." And then he declares war. It's kind of the same thing where he realizes, "I see. This is what Nami has been chained to." And he destroys it all. And Nami's reaction, that thank you. More little bitty parallels. I really, really, really loved the moment in Long Ring Long Island where I think it was Zoro that said to Sanji, or maybe Sanji's, one of the boys said to the other, "Let's work together for 30 seconds. And then the other one said something along the lines of, "Fine, 30 seconds, but that's all." And then in this arc, Zoro says, "I can only fight for 30 seconds. That's all I've got left in him." And Sanji says, 30 seconds will be enough. And then that little moment at the end where Nami is talking about like if her mom would approve of her being a pirate, and they're like, "Would it change anything?" And she goes, "Bleh, of course not." But then also there's so many things that add so much impact looking back. Like now that I understand why these pirates hate humans so much, the fact that I know, they were on the Knot Island, Sabati Island, and they were enslaved, and they have this prejudice against humans for this reason. Knowing that background for them and knowing the symbolism behind their tattoos, their sun pirate tattoos, all of that adds so much more depth, so many more layers to where these characters aren't just bad for bad's sake. They're not just mustache twirly bad guys, but there's depths and there's layers behind them so much. Knowing where Hachi is going to be in several months or a year. I don't really know what timeline we're on here, but knowing where Hachi is going to be not that far into my future, very far if you're a week by week reader, all these things just add more and more and more layers to the reread. Doesn't make me forgive them for what they've done to Nami and her people, but does make me understand a little bit more, and I love it so much. Honestly, this arc just phenomenal. Oh, also knowing where the symbolism of the pinwheel comes from, and then it being left at the grave. You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me, Oda. Oh my goodness. I have to leave. I have an appointment that I need to get to. So final arc, which is only like 4 chapters long, super fast. That arc is jam-packed. That arc is so jam-packed, full of goodness. Oh my goodness. And that's typical, I've found, for Oda, is the post whatever arc, the final little arc at the end of a saga, is so filled with foreshadowing, with really big moments, with theory fodder. There's so much here. So again, this is a moments kind of review, not a breakdown kind of review. So just talking about the things that really hit me hard this time around. 1, can Dragon control the weather? Does he have a weather controlling devil fruit? What's Dragon's power? Do we know? Do I know and I just missed it? Can Dragon control the weather? Did Dragon save Luffy's life? 2, Miss Swords Lady with Zoro is my new favorite thing. I adore her. Please tell me she gets a spotlight at some point in the future, because that scene with her and Zoro in the sword shop was incredible. It was incredible. Her being so knowledgeable and smart, but also clumsy and adorable, and their conflict and relationship. I'm not a shipper, but I would like them to couple up, please. Zoro's interaction with the shopkeep as well. And then, oh my goodness, and then when she realizes that he's actually Zoro and he realizes that she's in the Navy, there's so much between those two in these little couple of chapters, and I'm obsessed with these two together. And I mean, it really does seem like she is his childhood best friend, and his childhood best friend didn't die, but also it can't be, because she would have known that he was Zoro when she saw him as an adult, because he doesn't look any different than he did as a kid. So like, she wouldn't, right? But could she? Could she be her? I'm just saying, I love that character. I love her so much, and I need her to have a spotlight soon in the series when I continue it forward. And then also a really, really impactful moment for me was just Luffy back at the spot where the Pirate King died, where Roger was executed, and the weight of that moment for Luffy. It was drawn so simply, yet so powerfully. Also, Luffy's reaction when he's about to be executed, you know, the casual, cavalier way that he handles that situation and just accepts his death and laughs in the face of, this is it for me, guys. You know, them rushing to his aid any way they can. This little bitty 4 chapters, maybe 5 chapters, I could dissect for a long time. I really, really enjoyed in this reread not only getting these big moments again and seeing people's beginning again, but with this new context of how I see them now. Man, it was such a delight. It was such a joy to reread, but also seeing a lot of little things thrown in there. Like I got to see Rayleigh. I got to see Rayleigh again, which I totally didn't notice. My patrons pointed it out to me. But there were actually several people that just showed up and were a little bit of foreshadowing that I was like, you, hey, I know you. Oh, actually, really quick, also Smoker's introduction with my pants ate your ice cream, here by 5 scoops next time. Don't even make me love this character. But I do, I love this character all of a sudden. Anyway, seeing all these little moments, seeing the foreshadowing, seeing little parallels that it's like, oh, that matches up with this moment over here, and seeing all these little pieces and seeing how much intentionality went into the very beginning that would get payoff later. Man, this reread was such a joy. This reread was so wonderful. I'm still gonna reread the next 2 sagas. I don't know if I'm gonna split up the re-review and the reaction or rewatching the previous. I don't know what it's gonna look like, but I'm having a lovely time re-experiencing the beginning with characters that I now love and adore, and a story that I now have so much appreciation for. It's been a delight. Anyway, I would love to continue chatting with you about this in the comments. I post videos every Tuesday through Friday. I'll see you again soon. Bye.